Over the past 7 nights, we've embarked on a very powerful journey together. A journey which, inshallah, has provided you guys with a new perspective. We explored the fundamental purpose of our creation as Allah's representatives on earth. We delved into the intricate composition of the human being, the body, the mind, the heart. We spoke about the importance of achieving harmony between these elements. Then we delved deep into each one of these compositions or components of our being, and we examined the Islamic systems of belief and how to tame the mind, the system of our values. And last night we spoke about the system of jurisprudence. Inshallah, to give us a holistic perspective and a better way to start perceiving ourselves and our place in this world. And of course, our discussion took us to the realm of Tawheed, how to start viewing the world through the lens of Tawheed. And constantly, we kept going back to the story of Imam Hussein. We'd go back to the events of Karbala and we draw on these principles and relate them. Now, my brothers and sisters, as beautiful as our series has been so far, a lot of it has been theory. A lot of it has been beautiful ideas and ways to sort of start seeing the world differently, to start thinking differently. In the next couple of nights, I want to take a step to start looking at the practical. How do we practically implement this? And tonight, the title of tonight's talk is From Theory to Practice, to recognize and love the Imam of our time. Because ultimately, brothers and sisters, Islam is not just a religion of theory. Islam places a lot of emphasis on action, on application. الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا. آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا. It's always belief and action. There's a practical embodiment. And tonight, in transitioning to the realm of practicality and to start seeing how can we start applying this in our life, one of the most important aspects of our faith, and it's extremely important, is not just knowing who your Imam is, but recognizing him and loving him. And even this topic by itself can sometimes seem theoretical. So inshallah, we're going to try and make it a bit more practical tonight. Something that I hope by the end of tonight's discussion, you'll go home with resources, ways, steps, new routines, things that you can apply in your life to start building this warriorless character that we've been trying to discuss over the past week. But I want to emphasize that what we're talking about tonight, is not a recommendation. It's a necessity. That everything that we spoke about, if it is not applied, then it's just information and knowledge. It will actually bring you down, because when you know and you don't act, then it becomes a burden on you. Because now you're held responsible for knowing. So, if you would allow me to begin, please recite as-salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. As you guys have probably understood by now, one of the most beautiful aspects of Islam is the holistic nature of Islam. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because He created the world and He created the human and He created everything on this earth, He knows how things mesh and work together. So He created a powerful system that is a complete system of guidance. But the beautiful thing is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, alongside the theory, He says, I want you to be Khalifatullah, I want you to be my representative, إِنِّي جَعَلٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ خَلِيفَةً. And I'm going to give you the mind, I'm going to give you a body, I'm going to give you a heart, I'm going to give you all these resources and ability and potential to rise above the angel, rise above every other creation. But not only am I going to give you the theory, I'm going to show you it in practice. He says, subhanahu wa ta'ala, indeed we have sent among you a messenger from yourselves. He recites to you our verses and purifies you and teaches you the book of wisdom and teaches you that which you do not know. This verse, what does it highlight? That Islam, the nature, the gift that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts forward, has it's dual in its nature. There's two elements to it. There is the book, the theoretical guidance, the principles and laws, and then there's the teacher, the messenger, the perfect human, al-insanul kamil, the perfect khalifa, the representative of the goal, of who you want to become. And he's the living example of the message. And this, of course, shows that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala understands the human being. He knows that, you are, at the end of the day, you're confined, you're limited in this world. You are going to make mistakes. You are going to fall for your desire and your anger. He created the desire. He created anger. He knows that you're going to have these different forces within you. He says, so I'm going to give you a tangible example so you understand what I'm talking about. So, it's extremely important to shed light on what is the role of the Imams as this perfect embodiment. What is the role of the Imam? Number one, they're not just, like I said, teachers of Islam. They are Islam walking. They are manifestations of Islam. That, one of the hadith from the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, he describes Imam Ali alayhi salam as Al-Qur'anul Natiq, the walking, talking Quran. So, there are a couple of elements. Number one, the Prophet is a comprehensive example. The Prophet, peace be upon him, is not an example in one part of life. And for example, if you want to learn how to become a spiritual person, you go to the Holy Prophet. No, the Holy Prophet is a complete example. Where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is as the Quran explains it, the excellent example. His life covered every aspect of the human experience. He spoke as a leader, he spoke as a judge, he spoke as a husband, he spoke as a father, he spoke as a friend, he spoke as a servant. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. Before messenger, he's his servant. He showed us how to be servants before messenger. So, and then you go to the Imams alayhi salam and the other prophets, practical demonstration. Imam Ali alayhi salam didn't just speak about justice, he embodied justice. If you want a perfect example of this, I highly recommend you go and read the sermon or the letter of Imam Ali to Malik al-Ashtar when he sent Malik to Egypt. Listen and see. The Imam Ali alayhi salam was known, Adalat Ali, the justice of Ali. No human being ruled on this earth with the justice of Ali ibn Abi Talib. And I don't say this so I can G you up. I say this historically. Go in history and search for rulers, people that have had control over empires, and compare how Imam. I'll give you an example. A man came to the holy Imam Ali alayhi salam's brother. Came to Imam Ali to speak to him about something. Imam Ali asked him. Imam Ali was the Khalifa at the time. He asked him, "Is this a personal matter or is this a matter that has to do with government?" He said, "It's personal." He turns off the candle. He goes inside, brings another candle, puts the candle and lights it. He's like, "Why are you doing that?" He's like, "Because the first candle was from the wealth of the government. The second candle is from my personal wealth. If this is a personal matter, I can't use the wealth of the Muslimin on a personal matter. In a candle. With a candle." This is Ali ibn Abi Talib. Practical manifestation of justice. Not just saying uphold justice. Imam Ali alayhi salam, through everything, Imam Hussein alayhi salam, through everything that he endured in Karbala, it wasn't just theory of sacrifice. He embodied sacrifice. He showed us how to sacrifice. And we can give many of examples. But you understand that the Imams and the Prophets alayhi salam, as we're going to delve into now deeper, into more examples, you see that their life was not just a theoretical life. Do this and don't do this and preaching. They embodied it. And through the embodiment of Islam, that's why Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi salam says, "Kunu da'atan lana bi ghayri alsinatikum." That be preachers for us, but without using your tongue. Use your actions to preach for us. Use your character. Do you remember when we were speaking about the system of values? That's how you preach for us. Through a proper, nurtured character. When a person sees this, Muhammad, Ali, Fatima, Zainab, Hassan, when they see this person, I've never heard them lie. You know, the other day, a few boys were talking and they were backbiting, and I saw Ali stand up and he left. He could not sit down with people backbiting. I love that character trait. To be known for that character. That's how who taught him that? Ja'far al-Sadiq. I want to be like that. I want to learn from them. I'll give you an example. And do you remember the title of the talk is Recognizing the Imam. Because a lot of people saw Imam Ali. They knew Imam Ali. They heard Imam Ali. But they didn't recognize Imam Ali. A lot of people didn't recognize the Holy Prophet. They didn't recognize his imamah. They didn't recognize his leadership. I'll give you a few examples throughout history, brothers and sisters, where the Prophets ﷺ, who are the divine link, they are the link between you and God, Like if you want to be what you're supposed to be in this world, these are the examples. I'll show you how they were treated. Let's look at firstly Nabi Yusuf alayhi salam. Nabi Yusuf, his brothers didn't recognize him, whereas his father recognized him. Nabi Yaqub knew who Yusuf was alayhi salam. The love of Nabi Yaqub to his son Yusuf wasn't, oh, I'm attached to my son. I'm attached to the Imam of my time. He's recognized the Imam. He's recognized the Prophet. He's infatuated with it. That's why he cried till he became blind. No one could endure the separation of Yusuf. Why? Not just because of his facial beauty, but because the people would recognize. Now, there's some people that their hearts weren't ready to recognize the Imam, but they still fell in love, like Zulaykha. She fell in love with Yusuf, but she didn't recognize he's the Imam. So because of the lust and the desire and the anger, remember those parts of you that aren't tamed? Because Zulaykha hadn't tamed that part of her, that love, that misdirected love, led her and her spite to send Yusuf to prison. In prison, the prisoners recognized Yusuf's imamah, recognized he was the Khalifa of the time. They fell in love with him. They became Muslim. They became, when I say Muslim, they became Wahid. Nabiullah Yusuf was a Muslim. Every Prophet was a Muslim. They believed in the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When Yusuf alayhi salam came out, the people finally recognized the Imam of their time. What happened when Nabi Yusuf alayhi salam, who was gifted with wisdom, who was gifted with the ability to interpret dreams, who was gifted with the ability to enjoy and be patient and be loving and be kind, look at how the Imam of your time speaks. When his brothers put him in the well, he wasn't spiteful. He didn't seek vengeance or revenge. He said, I fear that my brothers are not going to be able to ask for repentance for what they've done. I'm afraid that they are going to go to hell because of me. That's what Imam Hussein said. That is the Imam of the compassion and love the Imam has for the people is something that you don't see in other beings, because they hold the compassion and love and kindness and mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When they recognized Yusuf, the whole empire changed. The whole government changed. In moments. See, the people in the prison recognized Yusuf, they became Muslim. In one moment, the Pharaoh recognized Yusuf. He's like, this isn't a normal human being. And not only did he take him out of prison, but he put him in the highest station in the government, because he recognized the Imam. We go a lot in our life reading Dua al-Faraj, hearing about Mahdi, we put our hand on our head when we hear his name. But how much do we recognize the Imam? On the other hand, you have prophets like all of the prophets. For the majority of their life, they weren't recognized. Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salam, who was fighting idolism. What happened? They persecuted him. They tried to execute him. Eventually, he had to leave. Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, same thing. They used to call him magician and sorcerer and liar. Wa'iyadhu billah. They never recognized him. Who recognized Nabiullah Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Ali ibn Abi Talib. Instantly. Amir al-Mu'mineen recognized. Sayyidah Khadija recognized. And they were the first to enter the fold of Islam. They were always Muslim. And then over time, as people started to recognize, you started to see the world and the landscape change and shift. And the Quran reminds us of this. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and we did certainly send Moses, Nabi Musa, with our signs, saying, bring your people from darkness and into the light, and remind them of the days of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Indeed, in these signs are signs for everyone patient and grateful. Now, if we go and transition to Karbala, this is a perfect classroom, perfect example for what we are portraying here. In Karbala, you had many different categories of people. You had people that had no idea who the Imam was. There were people that rejected who the Imam was. There were people that knew who the Imam was, but they didn't recognize the Imam. And there were people that were infatuated with the Imam. And so you saw each person understanding of the Imam of their time reflected in a different way. Some people stood at the end of the army, the back of the army of Umar ibn Sa'd, and were praying for the Imam. Because they don't want to fight with the Imam because they're afraid for their lives. But they don't want to fight the Imam because they know who he is, but they just love this dunya too much. Do you remember when we spoke about dunya? Ya dunya ghurri ghayri. Imam Ali says, go trick someone else. These people were tricked. You had another subset of people that the hypocrisy and darkness had entered their heart and had intoxicated their heart. They no longer saw anymore. Summun bukmun umyun. They became blind. So they could not recognize the Imam. These are the people that said, oh, I love the ring of Abu Abdullah. Let me cut his finger off whilst he's dead. Let me mutilate his body. And then you had people who were saying, Ya Abu Abdullah, if you were to cut us and kill us and burn us and scatter our ashes and bring us back to life, we'll do it 1,000 times. True recognition. And Imam made this very clear. He says, Imam alayhi salam, he says, O people, in one of the final sermons, he's addressing the enemy, yeah? He says, O people, verily Allah has created His servants to know Him. And when they know Him, they worship Him. And they become free from worshipping others but by worshipping Him. He's saying when you worship only God, you become free. It's freedom. Because if you don't worship God, then you have to pay your allegiance to this guy and that guy and this guy and that guy. Whereas God can come center your principles. And in Karbala, it was clear that there were people that had centered principles and there were people that weren't. Now, brothers and sisters, let us transition into some practical steps, because I said I wanted to share some practical steps. Some practical steps to recognize, yarhamakumullah, and love the Imam of our time. Not just to recognize, but to love. Feel free if you want to take your phones out, if you want to write some of these notes down, some of these resources down. The first step has to do with the domain of the mind. Remember, there's 3 domains. The first step has to do with developing knowledge about the Imam. And I want to give you a few examples, 4 ways that you can develop knowledge about the Imam. Number 1, you could study some authentic sources. Whoever wants some authentic sources, I'll quickly mention them for you now if you want to write them down. Otherwise, I can share all of this with you after, inshallah. By the end of our program, our nights together, I will be creating a PDF which has a full summary for every talk that we've had, and inshallah we'll share that with you. So this PDF will include these resources. But for quickly, just if anyone wants to jump on this real quick, a book called The Divine Guide in Early Shi'ism by Muhammad Ali Amir Mu'zi. The second is an amazing book by Sheikh al-Mufid, one of our old scholars. It's called Kitab al-Irshad and it's translated into English. Another book is The Promised Mahdi by Ayatollah Ibrahim Amini. Fourth is Al-Ghaiba, The Occultation, translated by Dr. Hassan Najafi. And another resource is An Introduction to Imam al-Mahdi by Allama Baqir Sharif Qarashi. These are some examples. Potentially you can get one of these books and develop knowledge about the Imam. Understand who he is. Number 2, understand the lineage of the Imam. Who's he connected to? Imam Hassan al-Askari. Who's Imam Hassan connected to? Understand who the Imams alayhim salam. Understand the ancestry. Understand the fathers. Understand the role of the father. What did Imam Hassan do? What did each person do? Learn about their attributes. Sayyid al-Khamenei, Quddus as-Sirruh al-Sharif, has a beautiful book called The 250-Year-Old Human Being. And basically he views all of the Imams, from Imam Ali alayhi salam to Imam al-Askari, as one human being, with multiple different faces of the mission, and how each Imam had a specific part to play in one big mission. Learn about them. Learn about, how did Imam Ali act? How did Imam Hassan al-Askari act? How did Imam al-Jawad behave? Because by understanding the attributes of the fathers of Imam al-Mahdi, you know who Imam al-Mahdi is going to be. Because he carries the akhlaq of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. He's the epitome. And of course, number 4, exploring the role of Imam al-Mahdi. Try and become familiar. What does it mean? Okay, Imam al-Mahdi is going to come and he's going to fill the world with justice. What does that mean really? Like what does that actually look like? What's my part to play in that? So that's the first. The first, develop some knowledge, a basis, a intellectual framework around Imam al-Mahdi. Not just based on, I've heard nice things, or Allahumma ajjal li walik al-faraj and dua al-faraj. No, actually become interested. And I'm not saying go to the house, go to the seminary and become a scholar. No, like this can happen inshallah, by the end of tonight, at the end of the talk, I'm going to give you practical routines and steps. But it can happen in 10, 15 minutes of reading a day. You can read for 10 minutes and you can genuinely build a stronger connection. Number 2 is the domain of the heart. So after you've internalized, after you've intellectualized, and after you've understood with your mind, you want to cultivate an emotional connection to the Imam. Through dua, through ziyarah, through dhikr. For example, if you were to remember the Imam in a dua al-Faraj for example, every single day you make it a part of your day, or dua al-Ahd. Dua al-Ahd is a beautiful dua which you could read, and this dua is you're renewing your allegiance to the Imam. Instead of waking up in the morning and jumping on TikTok, and going or scrolling through reels, start your morning with 2 or 3 minutes of just reminding yourself, Imam Mahdi exists and he's waiting for me. Just remind yourself. And what's his mission? And how can I relate to that mission? What that will do is from the morning, you start your time, you start your day, and you've organized your mind, you've harmonized your mind, and you've centered it. Because now if you wanted to go and scroll on TikTok after that, you're going to be like, does Imam Mahdi really need someone that scrolls for 2 hours on TikTok? See, if you just done that one action in the morning, it will shape the way you behave for the rest of the day. And inshallah, by developing that relationship with the Imam, always thinking about him. Like for example, I remember when I was in Hawza, we used to pray, every prayer we'd pray in congregation, Jama'ah. And I used to always pray in this spot, and this was like, it was really early days. And one of my teachers actually gave me this idea. But what I would do is I would pray next to a wall where no one could pray between me and the wall. And I would always, in my intention, Imam Mahdi is praying next to me. Just that intention of Imam Mahdi is praying next to me, I felt so shy of doing anything. I'm like, imagine Imam Mahdi is praying right next to me right now. How would I want to feel? What prayer would I want to experience? You spend that time and you sit down with Imam al-Mahdi Ajallahu Ta'ala Faraj Sharif and say, Ya Aba Salih, for the next 5-10 minutes, I'm with you. I'm praying with you. I'm talking with you. I'm thinking about you. That relationship will go a long way. The third is aligning our actions with the teachings of the Imam alayhi salam. This is how we go to the realm of our body, the realm of maneuvering. How do we want to utilize this mechanism in this world? And there are 4 primary points that I want you to take from this. Number 1 is what I call conscious moral excellence. Basically, don't be a good human being by accident. Intentionally be a good human being. Intentionally strive to embody the teachings of the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. Make it a conscious, try and visualize the Imam watching you. Imagine you're about to do something that you feel like it's a bit questionable. Imagine right in that moment, Imam is watching you. And he's watching you. What would he say about this? Would he be okay with it? Would he put his head down in shame? Would he encourage me? What would the Imam, what do I picture? And by the way, if you don't know the Imam, you can't have this picture. If you don't study a bit about who the Imam is, then you're creating your own picture, it's your own imagination. After you've understood the traits and the attributes of Muhammad wa al-Muhammad alayhi salam, now you want to bind yourself to that. Second is your social responsibility. That remember that, yes, you want to perfect yourself and work on yourself, but you are part of a society. What is your social obligation in society? When there's injustice, you want to rise, you want to do something about that. Don't be quiet to that. If there's bullying in school, if there's bullying in the workplace, if someone's being confronted on the street, someone's being abused, don't allow your tongue to be silent. Guide your tongue and say, this tongue is the tongue that is a servant of Sahib al-Zaman. Sahib al-Zaman does not allow me to stand for this injustice. Especially if you know people that are indulging in the bullying, that are participating in the bullying, in any form. You have a responsibility to say, no, I don't accept this. This is how you become This is how you become a preacher for Imam al-Sadiq without telling people, hey guys, come believe in Islam, and bringing theological proofs. You stand up for this. Number 3 is Imam al-Mahdi does not want weak and ignorant people. Like, make it a point to constantly grow and learn. Intellectual growth is essential. Whether that be in the form of reading, whether that be in the form of listening to podcasts, whether that be in the form of listening to audiobooks, whether that be in the form of going to the masjid, whatever the form is. It doesn't matter how you learn, as long as you make it a habit that you are a learner. Talib ilm. You can utlub ilm, you can seek knowledge in different places. But make it a habit, make it a trait of yours that you're trying to develop your mind, you're trying to sharpen your knowledge. So inshallah, when Imam Mahdi does reappear, he can depend on you with something. Number 4, brothers and sisters, is spiritual purification. And that is, you want to work on cleansing your heart from worldly attachments, from negative traits. Look, if six of your friends come and tell you you're stubborn, guess what? Most likely you're stubborn. If 9 of your friends come to you and say, you've been very arrogant, guess what? You're probably arrogant. Instead of trying to defend yourself, look and say, if I'm being arrogant, that's not who I want to be. I don't want to be an arrogant person. I need to work on that. I want to purify myself from arrogance. Imam al-Mahdi Ajallah Ta'ala Faraj al-Sharif needs characters who are worryless, who are certain, who are at peace. And so it's our duty till he comes to start purifying this part of ourselves. And I know this is all still, this practical, but a bit theory. We'll get to that in a moment. We'll get to the practical more in a moment. But Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam has a beautiful hadith. He says, he who wishes to be among the companions of Qa'im al-Muhammad Ajallah Ta'ala Faraj al-Sharif should wait while adopting good conduct. Should wait whilst having praiseworthy ethics. Meaning your ethics are so high that people praise your ethics. People look at you and say, I want my son to be like that. I want my child to be like that. Our love for the Imam, my brothers and sisters, should translate into what is considered active preparation. Active preparation is when you're not just waiting for the Imam idle. Ya Imam, Allahumma ajli waliyak al-faraj. Oh Allah, hasten the reappearance of the Imam. When you want to hasten the reappearance of the Imam, in the process, on the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hastening the reappearance, you want to be waiting but not sitting down on a chair. You want to be actively doing and participating in the world in preparation for this reappearance. It's like, for example, if you wanted to, if someone wanted to prepare a wedding, for example, you're organizing a wedding. Before the actual wedding happens, which is on that final day, the chosen day, there's so much preparation that has to go in before the wedding actually happens. There's so many people that have to put a lot of action, a lot of energy into the different minor details until the day comes where you go and have a wedding and it's a beautiful day and everyone has an amazing time. In the time that we're waiting for the Imam to come, there are some things that we can do. Look at yourself, number 1, look at yourself as a project that you're continuously trying to develop. A project that that's constantly trying to improve. The Holy Prophet ﷺ says, a beautiful hadith, he says, "Man tasawa yawmah fahuwa maghbun." He whose 2 days are identical. If you live every single day is the same, you don't improve, nothing changes. It's just the same routine. Then you're living at loss. You've been deceived. You're missing out. You're not actually growing. You're not actually benefiting in this world. So number 1, constantly look at yourself and say, how can I sharpen myself? What are the things that I can fix in 1% improvements? Whether that can be in my physical health, whether that can be in my mental health, whether that can be in my emotional health, whatever it is. Second is spreading awareness. Spreading awareness, sharing knowledge. You know, when you're in your saharat, in your gatherings, can you mention Imam al-Mahdi? Like in terms of active preparation, talk about it. You know, when the time's coming up for the wedding, 4 days left, everyone's, what are you going to wear to the wedding? Are you excited? talk about the reappearance. Third is, like we mentioned earlier, is standing up against oppression. Working towards creating a society. Yes, this society is filled with oppression, but do your part in society to remove as much as oppression as you can. If you, for example, work in a school, you work in a professional environment, you work on a job site, wherever it is, you work somewhere, you study somewhere, you're in a field, you spend a lot of time and you feel like there's a lot of injustice happening in the place that I'm in, actively work to change that. And fourth is maintaining hope. Staying optimistic. Inshallah, knowing that through my patience, we will be relieved with the dhuhur of Sahib al-Asri wa Zaman. Ajalla ta'ala Fajr Sharif. Before we conclude, my brothers and sisters, I want to share some of those practical examples that I mentioned with you. The first, I want to share with you 5 practical effects of recognizing your Imam. What are the 5 impacts that will shape and impact you just by knowing your Imam? Alayhi salam. Number 1, by aligning yourself with the Imam, you elevate your awareness of your divine responsibility. And you elevate your awareness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm going to go through this really quickly because my time is running out. Number 2, the Imam serves as a moral guide, as a compass. He helps us navigate. When we live in a time where there's so many different ideas, so many different types of knowledge, so many different opinions, so many different ideologies on what's good and what's wrong, what's bad, the Imam becomes that compass. He becomes that clarity in the middle of all of that crisis. Number 3 is believing in the Imam, believing that the Imam is going to come, he's going to wipe out injustice and oppression, gives us spiritual resilience. It allows us to like for example, if you were to look at the people of Palestine today, you watch these videos and they're so patient and they're so resilient and they're looking at God, Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakil, Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakil. That is a powerful thing to have, that hope. Number 4 is the Imam gives us a sense of purpose. Understanding your Imam's role in this world and his mission gives your life more meaning, gives your life more direction. And number 5, it's purification of the soul. That's when you're constantly looking at yourself as a representative of Allah, a representative of the Imam, someone that wants to be in the army of Sahib al-Zaman, then you hold yourself to a higher standard. There are certain things that you expect from yourself. There are certain things that you don't allow yourself to do. Here are 6 practical steps that we can take to enhance our connection and our recognition of Imam al-Mahdi Ajjallahu Ta'ala Farjah Sharif. Number 1, from now on, these are things that you can start committing to, brothers and sisters. Make it a habit every single day to remember Sahib al-Zaman. You can do this through Dua al-Ahad. A very mustahab action is to recite Dua al-Ahad every single morning for 40 mornings. And set a daily reminder on your phone. Just a reminder, remember Sahib al-Zaman. Just to keep that connection. Number 2 is commit to reading one of those books that I mentioned. One of those books in the next month. Try and finish one of these books and try and share this with a few of your friends. Number 3 is identify one character trait of the Imam, like patience or justice or kindness, whatever it is, and try and see how you can emulate it in your life. Set goals to develop this trait in your life, to embody it in your life. Number 4 is try and become more engaging in your community. Try and do something in your community to play a part in hastening the reappearance of the Imam. Number 5 is developing a spiritual connection. For example, try once a week, pray Salatul Layl, and dedicate that Salat to Imam al-Mahdi Ajjallahu Ta'ala Farjah Sharif as a gift. To show him that not only do you remember him, but that you were spending valuable time at night remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and you're gifting him that. And number 6 is, as we mentioned earlier, is ask yourself, before any important decision, what would Imam al-Mahdi want me to do? What would Imam al-Mahdi Ajallah Ta'ala Faraj al-Sharif want me to do, and how can I be a proud companion and follower of the Imam? I'll conclude with a dua for Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam. He says, when the sun rises, say before you speak, Allahumma arifni nafsak, فإنك إن لم تعرفني نفسك لم أعرف نبيك. اللهم عرفني نبيك فإنك إن لم تعرفني نبيك لم أعرف حجتك. اللهم عرفني حجتك فإنك إن لم تعرفني حجتك ضللت عن ديني. Listen to this hadith. Oh Allah, acquaint me with yourself. For if you do not acquaint me with yourself, I will not recognize your Prophet. Starts with Tawheed. Oh Allah, acquaint me with your Prophet. For if you do not acquaint me with your Prophet, I will not recognize your proof. Ya oh Allah, acquaint me with your proof. For if you do not acquaint me with your proof, I will stray from my religion. I will stray from my purpose. These, my brothers and sisters, echo through time. They connect us to those who embodied the truest recognition of the Imam alayhi salam on the plains of Karbala. The companions and the family of Imam Hussain alayhi salam on the 10th of Muharram not only knew the Imam, but they recognized the Imam. They lived for the Imam and they died for the Imam. And that's why on the night of the 10th, they could not leave their Imam, because they recognized who he was. He had such an account in their hearts that they could not fathom life without him. On the 10th of Muharram, allow your souls, my brothers and sisters, to settle, your minds to settle, and your hearts to travel to Karbala. On the 10th of Muharram, the companions gave their lives away with absolute devotion, with absolute loyalty, one after the other. Even the children, the young men from Banu Hashim, the slaves, everyone, the young, the old. And Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas alayhi salam was no exception. Abu Fadl al-Abbas, brothers and sisters, participated in every battle. Every single battle that occurred on the day of Ashura, Abu al-Fadl was part of that battle. And when all the shuhada were martyred, all the companions were martyred, when the family of the Prophet was martyred, there remained only one more man left to support Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. There was one more man that the Imam could rely on, the backbone of Abu Abdullah, the flag bearer of the army of Abu Abdullah, the hope of the women, the hope of the children, Saq al-Atasha, the quencher of thirst, the provider of safety, the provider of comfort. The narrator says, when no one was left with Abu Abdullah al-Hussein except for his brother Abu Fadl, he came to Imam al-Hussein. He asked for his permission to fight. Abu Abdullah, will you grant me permission? He cried bitterly. He said, my brother, allow me to fight. Imam al-Hussein replies, he says, my brother, you are the bearer of my banner. Abbas responded, Sayyidi, my heart is filled with anguish. I no longer want to live in this world. I want to seek vengeance against these hypocrites. He then said, Imam al-Hussein said, I will allow you. Go and ask for water for these children, but do not begin war, do not begin fighting.
The narrator continues and says, Abbas alayhi salam went to the people. He advised them, he warned them of the wrath of Allah, but he did not do good. He then shouted, O Umar ibn Sa'd, هذا حسين ibn Fatima. This is Hussein, the son of Fatima, the daughter of the Prophet, and you have killed his companions, you have killed his household. These are the dependents and the children. They are thirsty. Give them water, for their thirst has burnt their hearts. His words touched some of the enemy. Some of them cried, but Shimr shouted at the top of his voice, O son of Abu Turab, even if the whole face of the earth was water and it was in our hands, we would not allow Hussein a single drop of water. Abu Fadl returned to his brother. He told his brother Hussein about the people's response. He heard the children crying out and calling, Al-Atash, Al-Atash, oh the thirst. He once again comes to Imam al-Hussein to ask for permission. Imam Abu Fadl could not handle the children crying. Imam al-Hussein grants him permission. Abu Fadl al-Abbas stands at the door, at the tent of Zainab. He wants to take the water skin and go to the battlefield. The children are screaming from thirst. Sayyidah Zainab clings onto him, and with a sad and weak voice she says, My brother Abu Fadl. Listen to how the poet describes this last interaction. Sayyidah Zainab is telling her brother Abu Fadl al-Abbas alayhi salam before he leaves to the battlefield. لحظة يا خويا انتظر محلى جمالك يا البدر مقدر اشوفه ما تفر هيد لزينب يا القمر لحظة بقابل هالجفوف قبل ان تقبل هالسيوف عباس لا زينب تعوف وابقى غريبة يا القمر لحظة باشم منحرم واشبع منك وانظرك بشتاق اخويا المظهرك منه بعد مثلك قمر wait a moment dear brother, hold still. How beautiful you are, how moon so full. I can't bear to see you in distress, in sorrow for Zainab, oh moon so blessed. Look at what she says. Just a moment, my brother, allow me to kiss these hands before they're embraced by the swords on Karbala's sands. Abbas to Zainab bids farewell, departs these lands. Just a moment, my brother, let me touch your noble face. I will miss you, Ya Abbas, and your radiant trace. Who else shines like you, Aba Fadl al-Abbas? He mounts his horse, he carries the flag, bag. He takes the water skin and he aims for the Euphrates. He was surrounded by around 4,000 horsemen, the ones that were assigned to guard the Euphrates to prevent Abu Abdullah from reaching it. They shot arrows at him. He repelled the arrows. He killed a group of them until he reached the riverbank. He plants his banner into the floor. He descends to the water. Brothers and sisters, imagine the state of Abu Fadl al-Abbas. Imagine the thirst of Abu Fadl. He hasn't drank water in a couple of days. He's been fighting all morning. When he felt the coolness of the water in his hands, while the thirst had stricken him, he scooped up a handful to drink. However, he remembers the thirst of his brother Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. He threw the water from his hands and he begins to recite, Ya nafsu min ba'd al-Hussein huni, Ya nafsu min ba'd al-Hussein هوني وبعده لا كنت أن تكوني هذا حسين وارد المنوني وتشربين بارد المعين. He says, look at this reflection, this powerful reflection. The reflection of a man who remembers the Imam of his time, who's thinking of the Imam of his time, who will not drink if the Imam of his time is thirsty. Oh, Safta Hussein, find your solace. For without him, you ought not to exist in the first place. Here lies Hussein facing his demise, yet you seek to quench your thirst from cool water's embrace. He dips his hand, the cool water to sip, while inside his heart by thirst is being grieved. He remembers his dear brother, and tears start to drip. Water, he says, from my lips you are stripped. He then filled the skin with water. He carries it on his shoulder, and he emerges from the bank of the Euphrates. Crowds of enemies confronted him. Like a bullet, Abu Fadl is going back to the camp. Ibn Sa'ad cries out, block his path. When they saw this, he charged at them with his sword, saying, Inni ana al-Abbas, Inni ana al-Abbas, وأغدو بالسقا ولا أخاف الموت يوم الملتقى نفسي لابن المصطفى الطهر وقاه حتى أوازي في المصالي تلقاه. I am Abbas, advancing with the water skin. I'm unafraid of death on the day that we meet. My soul is pledged to the pure son of Mustafa. Until the grounds of conflict we are destined to greet. They pelted him with arrows from all sides until his armor looked like that of a porcupine from the abundance of arrows. A man named Zayd ibn Warqa, he comes from behind the palm tree, assisted by another man named Ibn Tufayl. He strikes Abu Fadl al-Abbas on his right hand and severs it. Abu Fadl al-Abbas, does he give up? Does he fall to the ground? No, he doesn't. He holds the sword in his left hand, saying, والله إن قطعتم يميني إني أحامي أبدا عن ديني وعن إمام صادق يقيني نجل النبي الطاهر الأمين. By Allah, even if you cut off my right hand, I will forever defend my faith and my truthful Imam with certainty, the son of the pure Mustafa, the trustworthy Prophet. He fought the people until he became too weak to fight. The blood loss had exhausted him. Ya Abu Fadl al-Abbas, Ya Abbas. Another man looked for him and looked at him, and he came from behind and struck him on his left hand. He severs it from the wrist. Abu Fadl screams out, Ya nafsu la takhshay min al-kuffari wa abshiri bi rahmat al-jabbari ma'a al-nabi al-Mustafa al-Mukhtari qad qata'u bi baghihim yasari fa aslihim ya Rabb harr al-nari. Oh, so do not fear the believers and rejoice in the mercy of the Almighty. At that point, brothers and sisters, are you picturing this image? Are you picturing the state of Abu Fadl al-Abbas? His sword has left his hand. He's now holding the water skin with his teeth. Abu Fadl has no goal rather than to deliver the water to the children. He has no means of defense. They blocked his way, and the arrows rained down on him from our side. Brothers and sisters, there are 3 arrows, 3 crucial arrows that broke the heart of Abu Fadl. You know the story. 1 arrow hits the water skin and spills the water. Abu Fadl stood confused. Abu Fadl Abbas has one mission: to return to the children with water. He is now stuck with no arms to defend himself, and now no water. How could he return to the camp, to Sakina, without water, and without hands, and with a body looking like a porcupine? He stood there, and another arrow struck his chest, and another arrow hit his right eye. It blinded him. Then a man from Banu Tamim struck him with an iron rod on his head, causing him to fall to the ground. He cried out, Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah, Akhi adrikni. The narration states when Imam al-Hussein came to Abu Fadl, he bent down to carry Abbas. But Abu Fadl al-Abbas opened his eye and he saw his brother, and he told him, brother, where do you want to take me, my brother? Imam al-Hussein says, I want to take you back to the tent. Abbas replies, he says, I beg you, brother, do not take me back to the tent. By the rights of our grandfather Muhammad, leave me here, do not carry me here. Leave me in this place. Imam Hussein says, why? Abbas says, for 2 reasons. First, I promised your daughter Sakina, and I cannot go back to the camp without water. I'm ashamed of Sakina. And second, my brother, brother, the inevitable death has descended upon me. Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. Up until now, brothers and sisters, every companion, every family member that would fall on the ground of Karbala, Abu Fadl would go with Imam al-Hussein to carry the body, whereas with Abu Fadl al-Abbas there was no one left to carry the body of Abu Fadl. Ya Khoya Hussein, خليني بمكاني. يقول له ليش يا زهرة زماني، يقول له واعد سكينة تراني بماي ومستحي منه. May Allah reward you, brothers and sisters. Imam al-Hussein, as he was by his brother Abu Fadl al-Abbas, Abu Fadl grasped his last breath and he departed this world. Abu Abdullah al-Hussein screamed out, Wa Akha, Wa Abbasa, my back is now broken, my brother, and you are the one that shattered it. How can you leave your brother who you once protected? You are the one who fetched the water. You are the one who pledged. You are now leaving the helpless one without a guardian. I say, my brothers and sisters, this is a great tragedy on our Master Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. However, what is even more painful? He said, how does he go back to Zainab and tell her about the martyrdom of Abbas? The narration states. There's two narrations. One narration states that Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam, when he was returning to the camp, he was wiping his tears with his sleeve, and his sister Zainab looks at him and says, Abu Abdullah, I see you returning alone. Ajib, where's Abbas? Where's our brother? Where's my brother Abbas? He says, Azam Allahu lakil ajr bi Abu Fadl al-Abbas. In another narration, the Imam does not speak. He goes straight to Abbas's tent and he knocks the pillar down. Everyone knows Sayyida Zainab wants to go to the place of Abbas's martyrdom. The Imam says, don't let our enemies gloat. However, she does not go to her kafil, Bayt al-Du'a. My brothers and sisters, she does not go to the body of Abu Fadl al-Abbas until the night of the 11th of Muharram. She stumbles over her trains until she reaches him. She saw him in that state. Imagine her brother, Ya Abu Fadl, Ya Abu Fadl. هذه تاليها يا خويا الوصية يا أبو فاضل يا أبو فاضل ترضى اختك أجنبية يا أبو فاضل حرمة وتستر بدايا يا أبو فاضل تدري بالشمر إيش سوى بيا يا أبو فاضل أبو فاضل. This is my brother, this is my last testament. Abu Fadl, how will you accept your sister Zainab taken captive? Ya Abu Fadl, Do you want to know what Shimr has done? Ya Abu Fadil, his whip has my body undone. Allahu Akbar, brothers and sisters. It's as if Abu al-Fadl Abbas replies, بلسان الحال بيت الدعاء وأسألك الدعاء. It's as if he replies to Zainab, سامحيني سامحيني يا زينب عن نهار لا طاحت سار ويمين. سامحيني سامحيني وهذه آخر كلمة ما بينك وبيني. اسمع يوم الأحزان حان الوداع، هذا حكم الله وعلينا أمر جاري يختوي اليوم. أعتذر جيت وارجو منك أن تقبلين اعتذاري. أقسم عليك بكسر ضلع الزكية، خاف أكون مقصر بحقك علي، خاف أكون مقصر بحقك علي. حلليني واعذريني، خاف اروح وما ارد لا ترتجيني. سامحيني سامحيني عن نهار لا طاحتي ساري ويميني بتدعى وسط الخيام. من تمشين بالعطش تتعالى صرخات اليتامى، صبر الأطفال لا ينوحون ساعة والعباس يرجع بالسلامة. تعرفيني وفديني لكن ايش بيد العمد صوب جبيني يا زينب. سامحيني سامحيني وهذه آخر كلمة ما بينك وبيني. Please forgive me يا زينب, please forgive me. By the riverside, if my left and right hand had died, please forgive me, please forgive me, and hear this plea, because my sister, these are the last words between you and me. Mother of sorrows, the farewell is due, and this, my sister Zainab, is Allah's decree. My brother, today I come begging you, Ya Zainab, please, Ya Zainab, سامحيني 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 وهذه آخر كلمة ما بينك وبيني. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا آل بيت محمد بأي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين.